Once upon a time. Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived a farmer named Mr. Thompson. He was known throughout the village for his greediness and his insatiable desire for wealth. Mr. Thompson owned a farm, but despite having a bountiful harvest every year, he was never satisfied. One day, while tending to his farm, Mr. Thompson came across a peculiar-looking goose. Its feathers were shimmering with a golden hue, and it had an air of elegance about it. Intrigued by its appearance, the farmer decided to take it home with him. Little did Mr. Thompson know, this goose was no ordinary bird. This goose possessed a magical power. It could lay golden eggs. As soon as the farmer discovered this, his eyes lit up with excitement. He saw this as an opportunity to fulfill his insatiable desire for wealth. Every morning, without fail, the goose would lay a golden egg. Mr. Thompson would eagerly collect it and sell it in the village market. The villagers were astounded by the golden eggs and were willing to pay a hefty price for them. The farmer's pockets were soon overflowing with gold, and his greed only grew stronger. But as time went on, Mr. Thompson's impatience started to get the better of him. He began to demand more from the goose, expecting it to lay multiple golden eggs each day. He would shout and yell at the poor bird, hoping it would produce more. However, the goose, being a living creature, had its limits. It could only lay one golden egg per day. No matter how hard Mr. Thompson tried to force it, the goose simply couldn't meet his unreasonable demands. Frustrated and blinded by his greed, the farmer decided to take drastic measures. He thought to himself, if one golden egg per day is not enough, then I will take all the golden eggs at once. With this wicked plan in mind, Mr. Thompson decided to slaughter the goose, hoping to find a stash of golden eggs inside. But when he opened up the bird, to his shock and dismay, there were no golden eggs to be found. The goose was just like any other ordinary bird. Mr. Thompson's greed had led him to destroy the very source of his wealth. Filled with regret and remorse, the farmer realized the error of his ways. He had let his greed consume him, and in the process, he had lost something truly precious. From that day forward, Mr. Thompson vowed to change his ways and appreciate the blessings he had. The story of the greedy farmer and his goose serves as a reminder that greed can blind us from the true value of things. It teaches us the importance of gratitude and contentment, for true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the appreciation of what we already have. Mr. Thompson's heart sank as he stared at the lifeless goose before him. The realization of what he had done washed over him, and he felt an overwhelming sense of guilt. How could he have been so blind? How could he have let his greed cloud his judgment to the point of destroying something so precious? As he reflected on his actions, Mr. Thompson realized that his pursuit of wealth had consumed him entirely. He had become so fixated on the idea of having more golden eggs that he had lost sight of the true value of his life. The goose had not only provided him with a steady stream of wealth, but also companionship and a sense of wonder. Regret and remorse gnawed at Mr. Thompson's conscience, but he knew that he couldn't change what had been done. Instead, he made a solemn vow to himself, a vow to change his ways and appreciate the blessings he had been given. From that day forward, Mr. Thompson became a changed man. He no longer obsessed over material possessions or sought to accumulate wealth at any cost. Instead, he focused on nurturing the relationships in his life and finding joy in the simple pleasures that surrounded him. He spent his days tending to his farm, not as a means to an end, but as a way to connect with nature and find solace in the beauty of the land. He took the time to appreciate the vibrant colors of the flowers, the gentle rustling of the wind through the trees, and the melodic songs of the birds. Mr. Thompson also began to express his gratitude openly. He thanked his friends and neighbors for their kindness and support, and he acknowledged the hard work and dedication of his farm workers. He no longer took their efforts for granted and made sure they knew how much they were valued. Word of Mr. Thompson's transformation spread throughout the community, and people were inspired by his story. They saw in him the consequences of unchecked greed and the power of self-reflection. Mr. Thompson's journey served as a cautionary tale, reminding others to appreciate what they had and to resist the allure of never-ending desires. In time, Mr. Thompson's farm flourished once again, not because of any golden eggs, but because of the renewed spirit and gratitude that filled the air. The farm became a place of happiness and contentment, where people gathered to celebrate the bounties of nature and the joys of community. The story of the greedy farmer and his goose became a legend, passed down through generations as a reminder of the dangers of greed and the importance of gratitude. It taught people that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the appreciation of what they already have. And so, Mr. Thompson's legacy lived on, not as a cautionary tale of loss and regret, but but as a testament to the transformative power of self-reflection and the pursuit of a life filled with gratitude and contentment. People from far and wide would come to visit Mr. Thompson's farm, not only to see the legendary goose, but also to hear the story of its transformation. Families would gather around the fireplace in the farmhouse, children sitting wide-eyed as their parents recounted the tale of unchecked greed and the power of self-reflection. As the story spread, it resonated with people who were caught in the relentless pursuit of more. They saw themselves in Mr. Thompson, blinded by the allure of never-ending desires. They realized that they too had been neglecting the blessings that already surrounded them. Inspired by Mr. Thompson's journey, individuals began to take a step back and reflect on their own lives. They started to appreciate the simple joys that had been overshadowed by their insatiable hunger for more. They found contentment in the warmth of a loving family, the beauty of a sunrise, and the laughter of friends. Communities began to change as well. People came together, not driven by greed, but by a shared desire to support one another and cultivate a sense of gratitude. They organized events to celebrate the abundant harvests of the farm and shared their own resources with those in need. The once desolate and lonely farm became a place of happiness and contentment. It buzzed with the sound of laughter, song, and the clinking of glasses raised in celebration. The farm's fields were once again filled with vibrant crops, nurtured by the love and care of grateful hands. Mr. Thompson, once consumed by greed and selfishness, became a changed man. He dedicated his life to teaching others about the dangers of unchecked desires and the transformative power of self-reflection. He traveled from village to village, sharing his story and encouraging people to find happiness in the present moment. The story of Mr. Thompson and his goose became a legend, passed down through generations as a reminder of the dangers of greed and the importance of gratitude. It taught people that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the appreciation of what they already have. And so, Mr. Thompson's legacy lived on, not as a cautionary tale of loss and regret, but as a testament to the transformative power of self-reflection and the pursuit of a life filled with gratitude and contentment. As the years went by, the legend of the goose and the farmer continued to inspire countless individuals to pause, reflect, and find joy in the treasures already present in their lives. People from all walks of life were touched by Mr. Thompson's story. They marveled at how a man so consumed by greed and selfishness could undergo such a profound transformation. Inspired by his journey, they began to question their own desires and the pursuit of material wealth. Communities started to organize gatherings, inviting Mr. Thompson to speak about his experiences and share his wisdom. People traveled from far and wide to hear his words of wisdom and learn from his personal journey. His message resonated deeply with all who listened, as they recognized their own struggles with greed and the constant yearning for more. Mr. Thompson's teachings went beyond the surface level of material possessions. He encouraged people to look within themselves, to reflect on their desires and motivations, and to find contentment in the present moment. He shared his own practices of gratitude and mindfulness, inspiring others to do the same. As the years passed, the legend of Mr. Thompson and his goose continued to grow. Children would gather around their elders, eagerly listening to the timeless tale of a man who had learned the true value of gratitude. The story became a reminder to cherish what they had, to find joy in the simple pleasures of life, and to avoid the pitfalls of greed and selfishness. Through his teachings and the power of his story, Mr. Thompson's legacy lived on. His words became a guiding light for those seeking a more meaningful and fulfilling existence. People started to prioritize their relationships, their health, and the beauty of the world around them. They understood that true wealth was not measured in material possessions, but in the richness of their experiences and the depth of their connections. Generations passed, but the story of Mr. Thompson and his goose remained a beacon of hope and inspiration. It served as a constant reminder to pause, reflect, and find gratitude for the treasures already present in their lives. The legend continued to motivate individuals to make positive changes, not only for themselves but for the betterment of their communities as well. And so, Mr. Thompson's legacy lived on, not as a cautionary tale of loss and regret, but as a testament to the transformative power of self-reflection and the pursuit of a life filled with gratitude and contentment. His story touched the hearts of many, reminding them that true happiness lies not in the pursuit of more, but in appreciating and cherishing what they already have. It became a tradition for families to gather around the fireplace during the holiday season, retelling the tale of Mr. Thompson and his goose. Parents would share the story with their children, passing down the wisdom of prioritizing relationships, health, and the beauty of the world around them. As the years went by, the legend of Mr. Thompson's goose grew even stronger. People from all walks of life found solace and inspiration in his story. It became more than just a tale. It was a philosophy to buy. Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived a man named Thomas. Thomas was known throughout the village for his insatiable greed. He was always looking for ways to accumulate more wealth, often at the expense of others. Thomas was a successful merchant, but his desire for more money consumed him. He would charge exorbitant prices for his goods, taking advantage of the villagers' needs and leaving them struggling to make ends meet. He would hoard his profits, refusing to share or help those in need. One day, a wise old man came to the village. He had heard about Thomas and his greedy ways and decided to teach him a lesson. The old man approached Thomas and offered him a deal. He said, Thomas, I have a magical golden coin that can grant you any wish you desire. But remember, greed will only lead to your downfall." Thomas, unable to resist the allure of more wealth, eagerly accepted the offer. The old man handed him the golden coin and disappeared into thin air. Excitedly, Thomas held the coin tightly in his hand, thinking of all the riches he could acquire. But as time went on, Thomas realized that the golden coin was not bringing him the satisfaction he had expected. No matter how much wealth he acquired, it was never enough. He became obsessed with accumulating more and more, neglecting everything else in his life. The villagers began to resent Thomas even more. They saw the misery he was causing and decided to take matters into their own hands. They boycotted his shop, refusing to buy anything from him. Thomas's profits dwindled, and his once prosperous business began to crumble. Desperate to regain his wealth, Thomas turned to illegal activities. He started smuggling goods and cheating customers, thinking he could outsmart everyone. But his greed blinded him to the consequences of his actions. One fateful day, the authorities caught up with Thomas. He was arrested and his ill-gotten gains were confiscated. Thomas was left with nothing but regret and a deep sense of emptiness. Sitting in his prison cell, Thomas finally understood the true cost of his greed. He realized that his obsession with accumulating wealth had not only destroyed his own life but had also harmed the lives of others. He vowed to change his ways and seek redemption. After serving his sentence, Thomas returned to the village a changed man. He used what little resources he had left to help those in need and rebuild the trust he had lost. Over time, the villagers forgave him and Thomas became a symbol of transformation and redemption. From that day forward, Thomas dedicated his life to undoing the harm he had caused. He started a charity to support the less fortunate and became an advocate for fairness and equality. His story served as a reminder to everyone that greed only leads to destruction, but it is never too late to change and make amends. And so, the greedy man learned the hard way that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the kindness and compassion we show to others. Thomas's transformation was not an easy journey. He faced skepticism and doubt from those who had been hurt by his actions. But Thomas was determined to prove that he was sincere in his desire to make amends. With the help of a few individuals who believed in his change, Thomas began by reaching out to those he had wronged. He offered heartfelt apologies and sought to understand the extent of the damage he had caused. Through these conversations, he learned about the families who had suffered due to his greed, the businesses that had been ruined, and the dreams that had been shattered. Thomas made it his mission to help these individuals rebuild their lives. He used his remaining resources to provide financial aid, support job training programs, and assist in the restoration of businesses. He knew that money alone could not undo the past, but he wanted to do everything in his power to alleviate the suffering he had caused. As word spread about Thomas's efforts, the villagers began to see his genuine remorse and dedication to change. Slowly but surely, they started to forgive him. They saw that he had truly learned his lesson and was committed to making a positive impact. Inspired by his own journey, Thomas founded a charity called Hope and Healing. The organization focused on providing support for the less fortunate, offering resources for education, healthcare, and basic necessities. Thomas became a tireless advocate for fairness and equality, using his own story as a powerful example of redemption. Through his charity work and advocacy, Thomas became a respected figure in the village and beyond. People from all walks of life were touched by his story and inspired to change their own ways. He spoke at schools, community centers, and gatherings, spreading the message that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the kindness and compassion we show to others. Thomas's transformation was a reminder to everyone that it is never too late to change and make amends. His story served as a cautionary tale against the destructive power of greed, but also as a beacon of hope for those seeking redemption. The village, once filled with anger and resentment towards Thomas, now saw him as a symbol of transformation and second chances. In the end, Thomas's greatest wealth was not measured in money or possessions, but in the lives he had touched and the positive change he had brought to his community. The once greedy man had learned the value of empathy, compassion, and the importance of giving back. And in doing so, he had found true fulfillment and purpose in his life. Thomas's journey of transformation continued to inspire and touch the lives of many. His story became widely known, reaching far beyond the boundaries of his village. People from all walks of life resonated with his message and were inspired to examine their own values and priorities. Schools invited Thomas to share his story with students, hoping to instill in them the importance of empathy and kindness. He spoke passionately about the dangers of greed and the detrimental effects it can have on individuals and communities. His words resonated deeply with the young minds, planting seeds of compassion and encouraging them to make a positive difference in the world. Community centers and gatherings eagerly welcomed Thomas as a guest speaker. People were captivated by his story of redemption and were moved by his genuine desire to make amends for his past actions. Thomas spoke candidly about the mistakes he had made and the lessons he had learned. He emphasized the power of forgiveness, both for oneself and for others, and urged individuals to embrace an attitude of empathy and understanding. As Thomas continued his mission to spread his message, he encountered people who had been inspired to change their own ways. Some individuals, previously caught in the cycle of materialism and greed, began to reassess their priorities and seek more meaningful paths. They reached out to Thomas, expressing their gratitude for his story and sharing their own experiences of transformation. The once divided and resentful village now saw Thomas as a symbol of hope and redemption. The community, once filled with anger and judgment, had come to understand that people are capable of change. They witnessed firsthand the power of forgiveness and the potential for growth and compassion within each individual. Thomas's greatest wealth was not measured in material possessions, but in the lives he had touched and the positive change he had brought about. He had become a beacon of hope, reminding others that it is never too late to turn one's life around and make amends. The transformation he had undergone served as a testament to the potential for redemption and the inherent goodness within every person. In the end, Thomas found true fulfillment and purpose in his life. He dedicated himself to helping others, using his own experiences as a catalyst for positive change. He launched initiatives to support those struggling with greed and materialism, offering guidance and resources for individuals seeking a more meaningful and fulfilling life. Thomas's story continued to ripple through society, inspiring countless individuals to reevaluate their own values and priorities. His journey of transformation served as a reminder that true wealth lies not in material possessions, but in the kindness and compassion we show to others. And in sharing his story, Thomas had not only changed his own life, but had also sparked a movement of empathy and understanding that would continue to make a lasting impact on the world. Thomas's newfound purpose in life led him to establish a foundation dedicated to helping individuals in need. He knew firsthand the destructive power of greed and materialism, and he was determined to provide support and guidance to those who were trapped in the same cycle he once found himself in. The foundation offered a variety of programs and resources aimed at empowering people to break free from the grip of materialistic desires. Thomas personally mentored individuals, sharing his own story and providing them with the tools and strategies he had used to turn his life around. Through workshops and seminars, Thomas taught participants the importance of self-reflection and introspection. He helped them identify their true values and encouraged them to focus on personal growth and relationships rather than the accumulation of wealth and possessions. Thomas also partnered with local organizations to provide practical assistance to those struggling with financial difficulties. He established job training programs, financial literacy courses, and initiatives to support entrepreneurship, giving people the opportunity to build a sustainable future for themselves. As word of Thomas's foundation spread, more and more individuals sought out his guidance. People from all walks of life, from high-powered executives to struggling families, found solace and inspiration in Thomas's story. His message resonated deeply with those who had been consumed by the pursuit of material wealth, reminding them that true happiness and fulfillment could not be found in possessions alone.